The clan McPhee has called the island of Colonsay its home since before records began. They are one of only a few clans that can directly trace their lineage all the way back to Kenneth the Conqueror MacAlpin, king of Dalriata, the Picts and Alba. It has long been said that the MacAlpin blood holds power, bravery, and other worldly knowledge. It is due to this ancient connection that the laird of Colonsay, or clan chief of the McPhees, has always been regarded as a near magical figure. He would protect his people and further his clan's standing through his legendary exploits and adventures. Today, we focus on one adventure in particular, the legend of MacPhie and the Black Dog. Strangely, this tale begins at the end of another. MacPhie of Colonsay had been called to the rough bounds of Scotland in order to aid MacAlpin, Lord of Moidart, who had foolishly attempted to take a fairy woman as his wife. MacAlpin paid dearly for his actions and lost much of his wealth and livestock, but in the end, the great MacPhie was able to chase the woman from the land. Our tale truly begins as the chief began his long journey home to the Isles. That night was bitterly cold, and the wind-battered traveller continued over the hills and through the glens. He may have been the great chieftain of the McPhees, but after some hours in the freezing Scottish wind, he was as much in need of shelter as any other. 'Twas then he spotted a dim yellow light in the distance, and hurried toward it like a moth to a flame. The light was seeping out of a small shalen window. MacPhie knocked upon the door and entered, finding a number of men sat round a fire, hiding from the bitter cold. Greeting the men, he sat down and began relating the tale of his recent exploits. The men were most welcoming and shared round food and drink while listening to the tale. Stories and legends were shared for most of the night. Then, as the new sun rose, MacPhie spotted a large dog in the corner, surrounded by a litter of newborn pups. The quiet dog was perhaps the most beautiful animal the man had ever seen, as large as a calf and as black as coal. MacPhie had a sudden connection with one pup in particular, and asked if he may be allowed to take a pup with him to call his own. An older man with a long grey beard joined the chief and told him he could take any but the blackest of the pups. "It was that very pup that will be my dog," said MacPhie sternly. The old man again refused, and told MacPhie to choose another. "I will only have this one, and no other," MacPhie boldly stated. "Since you are resolved to have it," called the old man, "I'll tell you now that it will only do one day's service, but it will do it well." The chieftain, a little puzzled by the old man's prediction, took the dog and continued on his journey. After some time, MacPhie returned to the island and his home. He took good care of the dog, and over time it grew into a magnificent beast. No man had ever seen a dog so large or so dark in colour as the Black Dog of MacPhie. Yet when its master was to go hunting and called for the dog, it would come to the door, look outside, and return to lay by the fire. Many friends and relatives who visited the home over the years told MacPhie to rid himself of the beast, as it would not hunt and ate the food of three. But the great dog's master would always tell them to let the dog alone, and that the Black Dog's day would come yet. Then on one day, a party of huntsmen from Islay came across to visit MacPhie, and asked him to join them on an upcoming hunt on the Isle of Jura. which at the time was almost uninhabited, making it the perfect hunting ground for deer. McPhee was delighted to go hunting with his friends, and so on that very day, a boat was readied to cross the Sound. As McPhee left his home, accompanied by the 16 hunters, each of them attempted to call his black dog. Again the dog reached the door, turned about, and lay by the fire. "Och, just shoot it," called one of the young hunters. "No, no, no," said the chief. "The black dog's day has not come yet." The party reached the shore and boarded the boat, but suddenly the wind rose and the passage became wild. They would not cross that day. On the next morning, the men once more made ready to go, and once more they called upon the dog, who reached the door and returned to the fireside. "Ah, kill it," said one hunter. "It's not worth the food." "I will not harm my dog," McPhee calmly said. "The black dog's day will come yet." At the shore, the party were turned about again due to the horrible weather. One hunter even joked that the dog may have foreknowledge and knew they would not sail that day. The chief only smiled and said, "The only foreknowledge the dog has is that its day will come yet." On the morning of the third day, the sun shone brightly and the sea was flat calm. As the men readied themselves, they reached the door and found the huge black dog waiting patiently for them. Without a word from any of the men, the dog followed them to the shore and leapt upon the boat. "It would seem," smiled McPhee, "that the black dog's day is drawing near." The boat was filled with food and provisions before the 17 men and the huge black dog set sail for the Isle of Jura. The passing across the Sound went quickly and smoothly. Soon the men made land and set up camp in a large cave. The cave was a well-known spot in the island for hunting parties to rest. It had a hole in the roof near the size of a man, which the fire smoke could easily escape from, allowing them to keep it burning all night. The men passed that evening relaxing in the cave, eating food, and telling tales of other hunts and great adventures. Almost all of the following day, the men would spend hunting in the woodland, and by evening they had quite the catch. Once again, they ate and drank round the fire, and just as evening was drawing close, the men heard an almighty thundering from above. It sounded as if the very cave itself was about to give way. As the party looked up, a huge clawed hand descended from the hole in the roof. It swiped and snatched at the men as they hurried to escape. Suddenly, the fire was knocked and the light went out. McPhee could only hear the screams of terror and fear from the hunters. He could see nothing before him as he leapt to the ground, hoping to shelter from the beast's wicked hand. As the chief's eyes became accustomed to the dark, the voices went eerily silent. The hunters lay about him, tattered and torn. Above him the great clawed hand reached out. The razor-like hooks drew closer and closer to McPhee, and just before they snatched him, the black dog bounded forward and bit the hand with all its might. A hideous scream was heard as the hand jolted back, trying to escape from the cave, but the huge dog would not let it go. It gnashed and tore at the arm until it cut straight through. The giant hand fell limp to the floor, and the bloody stump receded through the hole in the roof. The great dog rushed out of the cave and continued its assault on the evil creature. McPhee, in shock and fear, began to pull himself together as the howls of the dog and the wails of the creature echoed through the cave. As the man reached the opening, the first rays of morning breached the hillside, and the woodland went silent. Soon the dog returned to its master's side, covered head to paw in blood, and as McPhee held the animal and thanked it for saving his life, the final breath left the great black dog, and it lay down to die at the feet of its master, its only task now complete. McPhee later checked the cave for his friends, but not a single one was left alive. Between the bodies lay the clawed hand of the beast, which the man took with him as proof of the tale, and returned to board the boat alone, no hunters and no dog. Once again on Colonsay, McPhee recounted the horrors he saw that night, and told of the hand and his dog. No man on any of the isles had ever seen such a hand, nor did they imagine that such terrors truly existed. In the following days, a boat was sent to Jura to recover the bodies and bury the dog where he lay, at the site of his valiant service to the clan McPhee. There is a saying in Scotland, the black dog's day will come yet. A time will come when one who is despised and of no use will provide a great service to those who remained loyal. Thank you for listening, and a special thank you to all my patrons who help support the videos and keep these tales alive. This tale is quite famous in many parts of Scotland, which means there are hundreds of versions and tellings, which many times blend into other stories. In one account, the fairy woman who was married to MacAlpin was the one who became the monster and returned to seek revenge upon McPhee. In another, the fairy woman thanked the chieftain for freeing her, and gifted him with a jet black pup, which would go on to save his life. In other forms of this tale, as the men sit by the fire on that night in the cave, 16 beautiful fairy women arrive and seduce the men, but are chased away by the dog moments before the claw reaches into the cave. This is actually quite a common trope in Scottish folklore. I have covered a similar tale in my video on the Banshee, and I think it is better implemented in those tales. One style of the black dog story really differs from the rest. It was said that MacPhie of Colonsay was the captive of a beautiful mermaid. She would supply whatever he required, but still the man was not happy, and so escaped from the mermaid while she was absent, only taking with him a black dog. The furious mermaid then pursued McPhee for many days. When she finally caught up to him, the mermaid went to snatch the man, but the black dog leapt in front of his master and attacked the mermaid. The battle ended in the death of both the mermaid and the dog, but McPhee of Colonsay was saved. In one tale, the dog would breathe a magic smoke at the monster. The dog's jaws were filled with a green flame. The dog killed the fairy woman. McPhee charmed the beast with a harp. The dog became a spirit. The dog's heart turned to fire and McPhee had to kill it. They really do just go on and on. There are so many versions of this great tale, and I only hope that you all enjoyed this version, and I will see you again next time for some more Scottish folklore. Slán Java.